Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Tickets Toward Success podcast. I'm your host, Tucker Nunnikhoven. I want to thank you so much for tuning in today. We got a Q2 recap today, where I'm at and where I am heading. So we're just going to be discussing, if you listen to the Q1 recap, I went through it month by month. So we'll kind of discuss the months of April, May, and June, what happened specifically in those months in my life, where I'm at right now, and where I plan to be at the end of Q3. So let's just go ahead and jump into April real quick. So in April, I had sought out medical professionals' help with my lower back injury of sciatica and a herniated disc. That started off with getting x-rays done, doing some evaluations, and then eventually being put into a physical therapy program that was every other week. I went to physical therapy at the sports medicine clinic here at the University of Iowa, and they're so busy all the time that they can only get you an appointment every other week. So I wasn't even going that frequently. It was just on that every other week schedule, which kind of stunk, but I was sent home with exercises and was able to do those, every single day, 3 or 4 times a week. That is how we started April, because right after the month of March was an 80-mile month for me for running, for training for a marathon. And then I eventually decided to drop out and seek some medical help, some medical assistance with this injury and trying to overcome it. Another thing that we worked on in April was really but bettering the podcast in terms of audio, intros, outros, short form content. I've begun to slowly just incorporate new things. And when I say new things, I mean like changing up the intro and the outro to the podcast, giving it a different look more frequently. That way it's staying up to date, and we're getting better at the video portion of the podcast, and also switching up the music that goes in the podcast and kind of when it comes in and when it comes out. And then also adding different thumbnails to my short form content, switching up the hooks on the short form content, switching up the way that I introduce a new episode every single week, just trying different things to get the podcast out to more people, more views for the podcast. That's really what I'm ultimately trying to do when I'm switching up these things, trying different things, trial and error, trying to see what really works in terms of spreading awareness about the podcast. In terms of fitness for April, we switched from running to biking, stationary bike workouts, was doing 3 workouts a week on the bike, 2 30 minutes and then 1 60-minute on Saturday. So that is how I was getting my endurance in, and still I was biking in zone 2. So building up my aerobic base through that as well. The month of April was pretty busy for me. I traveled a little bit for work early on. I was doing some sales trainings in Milwaukee, which is where my managing company is based out of. I work for a Hyatt hotel here in the Iowa area, but the company that manages that hotel, that property, is based out of Milwaukee. So I was up in Milwaukee for a while, had a really great time there. We went through sales trainings. We got to go to some really, really cool restaurants that are inside some of their other hotels that they own there and that they manage. They have 3. There's a few that are really historic, old-fashioned hotels, which was really, really neat to see. We went to some amazing restaurants, like I said. We had some amazing drinks at different cocktail bars. And it was just a really good time to meet some other people that are in the portfolio that they have and that work at, brother and sister hotels that are in Nebraska or that are in Milwaukee or Minneapolis or down in St. Louis. It was really nice to meet some of those other people, go through the training together and get better at what we are trying to achieve at each of our properties. So that was a very, very cool thing to do in the month of April. I will say that April was a little bit of a slow month besides some of that traveling. It was a little bit slow, nothing too exciting. It was kind of wait and see month in terms of fitness because we really didn't know what was going to happen with running. I didn't really know exactly what I could or could not be doing in the gym. I was very cautious when it came to my fitness in the month of April. There was a lot of thinking and contemplating going on, and I just didn't really know where to go from here. I was seeking answers that I did not yet have. In the month of April, I read a fantastic book. I forgot to grab the books that I could show you on video, but the book that I read in April was called Unfuck Yourself by Gary Bishop. This book is phenomenal. I would recommend it to anyone that asks me what book they should read to better their mindset and that isn't a cookie cutter 3-step program type of book. This book helps you get out of your head and get into your life. It's something that I struggle with, and I still do, even though I read the book. Still do, definitely. But it's something that I struggle with so much, with being present in the moment. I'm in my head so much. There's times where I'm in my head so much that someone is talking to me and I'm not even understanding what they're saying. I'm just looking at them, nodding along, but I'm thinking my brain is completely somewhere else. And I know that that's not a good habit to have. So this book really put it into perspective for me of how to get out of your head and what you can do to accomplish that. There's a few quotes that I have from the book that I wanted to put in here. And if you remember in the quarter 1 recap, I did mention this book at the end of March, in the March month, because it was I was reading it at the time and it really just shocked me how good the book was. In this quote right here, it says, "In short, the conclusions that you have come to about yourself, others, and life itself, those conclusions are the limit of your potential. It's only when you have broken through these conclusions and can experience a life outside of your current existence that you start to understand the power of this phenomenon." Now, what does this mean to me? And what do I think he's trying to relay, the message that Gary is trying to relay here? When we are born, we're born into a life. Our parents raise us and they teach us everything that they know to the best of their ability. Everybody's lives are different. Everybody grows up different. When you're growing up and you see the life around you and how people are living, what's going on, that is all you really know. Unless if you're someone that has ventured out and seen many different walks of life. It's all you know. And unfortunately, we get told that this is what you have to do in order to get to where you want to go. In order to be better than I was. And I'm talking in terms of parents. That's what parents will say to you. In order to be better than I was, you need to do this, this, and this. And you may have a little bit more than we have right now. But we come to conclusions about life, like Gary says, about our potential and what we're actually capable of, about others, about what life has to offer in general. The things that we grow up with, that's what we think life has to offer. That's what we think it's capped out at. And that's how we limit our potential. He says it's only when you have broken through those conclusions and can experience a life outside of your current existence. That's why personal growth, pushing yourself, trial and error, failing over and over and over and over again until you succeed is so important. Because in order to experience a new kind of life, you have to be willing to go through a chapter of life where you're not succeeding at anything. And that's how you find that new life. There's another quote that he said as well. He says, "We often view ourselves as procrastinators or lazy or unmotivated, when in reality, we're simply unwilling. We put things off or we avoid them completely because we tell ourselves we just don't want to do it or that we can't do it." I know this happens to a lot of us. We're procrastinators. We think that we're lazy. Motivation obviously isn't real, but he flips this in the book. He talks about being willing to do things and being unwilling to do things. Sometimes if you take a step back and you look at what you're avoiding, is it just a simple fact that you're just unwilling to do that right now? To be honest, something that I go back and forth with myself is drinking. Obviously, if you've listened to some of the past episodes on the podcast, big bourbon enthusiast, love collecting whiskey, love the community, love the conversations it brings with friends when we're just having a few whiskeys and talking about life. But is that something that if I took out of my life for a certain period of time could better my life for those years? But maybe I'm just simply unwilling to do that. Or maybe I'm just unwilling to do something when it comes to a business or when it comes to a podcast or when it comes to filming in the gym or when it comes to doing certain workouts. We avoid them because we tell ourselves we don't want to do it or that we can't do it. And we become negative towards our potential, towards what we're capable of doing. One of my favorite quotes from this book that Gary says, he says, anytime you're working to achieve something, you're going against a current. Often the opinions of people around you are trying to push and pull you away from your destination. I've talked about this many times before. Nobody knows truly where you're trying to go. Nobody understands your vision. Nobody gets you, gets what you want to accomplish. People just think it's a fucking joke. You're the only person that understands what it really takes and what you're really trying to do with your life. The one life that you get one. And what I've come to realize is screw everyone else. I don't care who it is, screw them, because you get this one life to have one shot at doing whatever it is that you want to do. And if you let all these people tell you what life is supposed to be, let all these people talk a bunch of shit about you, about what you're trying to do, and you let that worry you, screw them. It doesn't matter anyways. We're all going to the same place. We're all going to end up at the same exact destination at the end of our lives. We won't no longer be here. We won't be here anymore. So why does it matter what they think? And if they are saying things like that, they probably shouldn't even be involved in your life anyways. So when that true character comes out, see you later. Get them out of there. You can't let the opinions of other people influence what you are trying to accomplish in your life. People will tell you that things are supposed to be certain ways. They're supposed to be done certain ways. That is not how innovation works. Innovation works by doing things the opposite way and creating a new way to go about the process. Do not let other people limit your creativity. Don't let them pull you away from your destination. Nobody is going to understand because society has made it that way. And lastly, you're not your thoughts. You are not defined by what's inside your head. You are what you do, your actions. Do not focus on how you feel, just act. Do not act on emotion. Act on what is in front of you in the present moment. The only way to truly change your life is by changing your actions. And I'm a firm believer in that because I struggle with this shit every fucking day. It is hard to consistently take action and be better than you were the day before every single day. It is so damn hard. And that's why nobody does it besides 1% of the population. This quote here plays an important outlook on your mindset and how you can flip your mindset, have a mindset shift. You are not what you're thinking up in here. Our brains try to confuse us. Oh, you're not good enough. You can't accomplish this. Nobody's going to listen to you. Why are you doing this? Why are you wasting all this time on this? Why don't you just go out with your friends? Why don't you just go on vacation? Why don't you just eat that processed food? You're not defined by what's inside your head. You are what you do. What you do when you eat healthy, when you get up early, when you stay up later working on your side hustle, the way you treat people. It's such an important concept to learn. And he talks about it so much in this book. And I wrote that on my whiteboard. You're not your thoughts. You are what you do. And it's hard. guys, it's so hard. It's never going to be easy. You're always going to be constantly struggling with some aspect of your life because if you have a mindset like me, like others out there will always be one thing that's nagging at you that you think is lacking in your life. And that's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing because it shows that we want to win. But you also have to take that step back and look at a bigger picture. Think at all the actions that you've done. Think at all the things that you have accomplished and how you were able to accomplish those, because that's what's going to help you accomplish whatever you think is lacking in your life right now. So that was April. Slow month. Just a lot of thinking went on, a lot of waiting and trying to figure out what to do next. Month of May, I attended 2 appointments for physical therapy. So 2 weeks apart, like I said a little bit ago. I had high hopes, a bit disappointed in the process. I don't want to hate on the University of Iowa by saying this, but I just want to give my honest opinion. I thought that I was going to one of the best places that I could possibly go to get an expert's opinion on what to do about my injury. The sports medicine clinic at the University of Iowa. I went there, first appointment, told him exactly what happened, told him who I am, my knowledge, my experience on fitness and what I was currently doing, working on. I was already doing my own rehab or rehab exercises because I started that immediately after I stopped running, just to get some mobility, movement into that lower back and see what I could accomplish on my own until I went to the appointment. Did that initial checkup and that went fine. Didn't do it. He gave me a few exercises. And by exercises, I mean, they were exercises that I could see them giving people that weren't athletic, that had no idea what they were doing. And the same was true when I went back for the second appointment too. He gave me exercises that I already had been doing. And he wasn't trying to find the root cause of the problem. He just asked me the same questions over and over, went through different exercises each time, didn't really try to find that root cause. And I kind of felt like they just blew me off as a case. And I just didn't feel taken care of. And I was pretty disappointed about it. I spent a lot of money going to this physical therapist, a lot of time. And that just is super hard because I had prayed to God, asking him for guidance on this situation. And my gut honestly told me not to go to a physical therapist because I just knew that it would probably be a lot of bullshit. And, I prayed to God though, and I eventually came to the conclusion that I thought that the best thing to do was to at least go and see what they would say. I was excited because I was going to get into a running evaluation in June, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But that's just kind of the backstory on my physical therapy journey throughout May. It wasn't what I hoped, but I did stick it out for 2 months, and we'll talk about the rest of physical therapy and how that went in June. Something I started doing for my strength training in May was I started training till failure in the gym and experiencing with that. I started with the Mike Mentzer method. If you don't know who Mike Mentzer is, he is a professional bodybuilder that kind of reinvented the wheel when it comes to fitness. Max 2 sets on most lifts, 4, 5 exercises, mostly 4. 2 sets till absolute failure. 1 to 2 sets till absolute failure. Now, Mike Mentzer was definitely on steroids, but it has also been a proven method to grow muscle mass, spend less time in the gym, and prioritize recovery. He trained till failure, but prioritized recovery to still see adequate amounts of muscle growth. Now, I've been trying this method out. Why? Because I'm looking to save time in the gym while still maintaining some muscle gain and building lean muscle. Saving time in the gym is huge because if you think about it, come home from work, drive to the gym, be at the gym, drive home from the gym, and then by that time, it's 7:15. got to eat dinner, 8 o'clock, then work on podcast stuff or whatever that may be. I'm just trying to save as much time as I can so I have more time to put into this podcast or to put into content or whatever that may be. So that is why I'm trying out this method. And I will say so far, it's July right now, it's going pretty well. I have seen an increase in strength when it comes to some exercises. I've also stayed stagnant a little bit at some exercises. So we're kind of working through it, and I'm tracking all of my stuff, all of my lifts in a journal, and we're doing progressive overload with this method as well. So for example, today I hit legs and I did leg extensions. Last week on leg extensions, I hit 115 for 13 reps on the first set and then 12 reps on the second set. So this week I did 120, and I hit 12 reps and 11 reps. So anytime it's over 8 reps on the last set, that's when I'm increasing the weight next week. So next week I'll do 125. And that's kind of how you do that progressive overload to make sure that you are getting stronger and that what you're doing is actually working. In terms of endurance for May, I continued with biking instead of running. Started walking a lot more often, really focusing on 10,000 steps a day, which I think is super important. Sometimes you don't get 10,000 steps, and that's okay. But I would definitely recommend trying to get it as much as possible or even more every single day. I also experimented with EMOMs and AMRAPs on Saturday mornings just to get some high intensity, high heart rate training in. EMOMs are every minute on the minute. AMRAPs are as many rounds as possible. A lot of CrossFitters do these types of workouts. It consists of, you could do 12 cal ski, 12 cal bike, 10 push-ups, and 12 V-ups. And that could be an EMOM or an AMRAP, and you're kind of just every minute on the minute or doing as many rounds as possible. So you could do like a 30-minute AMRAP, doing as many rounds as you can in 30 minutes. Experimented with that, had a lot of fun with that, and it sucked, to be honest. It definitely sucked, and I still will incorporate those sometimes, but I'm a true runner at heart, and I did like the biking as well too. Now in the month of May, I really focused on getting ahead on my podcast because I wanted to get like 2 or 3 episodes ahead so I can focus on editing better and just playing around with that more. When I first started, I made the mistake of not batch recording like 4 or 5 episodes when I first came out with the podcast. I just did the first episode and then I released it, and then I had to record another one, and so on and so on. So it's like a weekly process. So now I'm at the point where I'm having to record like 2 or 3 episodes on the weekends, but that's what I focused on in May, is like recording 2 episodes every single weekend in May, if I could, to really start to get ahead. I'm about 1 episode ahead right now, just because the past couple weekends I haven't been able to record. And so I'll be focusing here in the next couple weeks on getting back to being like 2 to 3 episodes ahead. I started staying up later during the week to finish editing and scripts, just to get ahead on scripts and editing as well for the podcast. It's a lot of work for a podcast. Editing isn't terrible because you're not making a lot of like cuts in the edit, but they're just so long because I listen and watch every single podcast. So if it's 45 minutes to an hour long, and my first guest podcast was 2 hours long, I'm sitting there and I'm listening and I'm watching it, and I only have one laptop. I don't have another screen I can use. So there's really nothing else I can work on. I do try to like go back and forth and work on things, but sometimes that can be hard. So it's just a lot of work to try and manage and edit and try new things with the podcast and make it better quicker when you're almost limited on the time that you do have to work on it. But I've been finding ways to do it, and I know that there's more time out there. Just got to make it. There really wasn't anything extravagant to happen. Just a lot of work that was done in the month of May when it came to fitness, when it came to the podcast, and then also just short form content. Really started ramping that up as well. The book that I read in the month of May was The Unforgiving Race to Greatness, Winning by Tim Grover. This book is crazy. If you guys don't know who Tim Grover is, he was the personal trainer for Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant, along with many other popular athletes and successful business people. Reading this book, Tim Grover is truly a crazy motherfucker. There's only a few people that I'd say that about. That would be Michael Jordan, Tom Brady, Tim Grover, and David Goggins. Just when you learn about how they think and how they operate, it puts your life into a new perspective. Tim Grover has an unbelievable mindset when it comes to life and when it comes to winning. He talks about winning a lot. He talks about everything that we do in life is about winning. And I agree with that. I think a lot of people will like dumb it down and they'll say, not everything in life is about winning. But they're wrong. I hate to say it, but they are. Every single thing in life is about winning. When you go to work and you want to move up the ladder at work, you have to win. When you want to build a podcast that is successful, you have to win. When you want to hit big fitness goals, you have to win every fucking day. Everything that we do in life is about winning. When you want to eat, when you want to look a certain way, have a certain physique, you have to eat right. You have to win at eating. That sounds cliche, but it's true. Everything you want in life comes down to winning. If you do not win, if you do not have results to show for it, no one will believe you and you won't win. There's a really cool story about Tim Grover that he puts in this book that I thought was extremely interesting. And it's the story about how he got the opportunity to meet and train Michael Jordan. I'm remembering this off the top of my head. I can't remember where he was at in his training journey. I think he was training like smaller athletes, not as like popular athletes, I guess. You know, maybe still athletes in the NBA or in professional sports, but they weren't on Michael's level or Scottie Pippen or any of those guys. He got a call from the Bulls and they said, hey, there's a player at the Bulls that would like for you to train him. Can you send over some ideas that you would have, kind of your thoughts on training and what you'd expect from the athlete? And so he did that. He had no idea who was going to. You know, he told them that it can be difficult to put together a training plan when you don't know the individual and you don't know who they are as a person, but he did it anyways. And he got a call back and he said, and they told him to meet at this address at this time on this date. And he went to the address at that time at that date. And it just so happened that he pulled up to Michael Jordan's house. And he knew it when he got there. And he was kind of like stressing out, right? Because this is a huge opportunity for him. If he can land Michael Jordan as a personal training client, he can basically get whoever he wants. Or if he lands him as a client and then provides results for said client, he can get whoever he wants. He can train whoever. So he knocks on the door, he meets Michael, he talks with Michael what Michael's thinking, what he's trying to do. And this was when Michael was getting beat up by the Pistons. So he was really scrawny. You know, he could jump out of the gym, but he's really scrawny. And so he hired Tim to come in and train him to put on size so he could take down the bad boy Pistons. And I didn't know that. I kind of forgot that it was actually in the documentary, The Last Dance. So he hires Tim and Tim goes, so when do you want to start? And he goes, tomorrow. Or Michael goes, tomorrow. And Tim goes, where do you want to train? Michael goes, we'll train here at the house. And Tim was like, well, we don't have any equipment. He said, and Michael said, we'll get it. And so Tim talks about how he had 24 hours to find all kinds of gym equipment. And he says, this wasn't in today's world where you could go on Amazon and you could order 50 pieces of equipment and be here in 2 days. This was back when you had to go into the catalogs call the number in the catalog and order this equipment that could take 2 to 4 weeks to get here. But Tim somehow, he didn't say how, but he somehow made it happen. He somehow got all the equipment that they needed for that next day and that next week there in 24 hours. He ends up training Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan goes on to become the best basketball player to ever live. And Tim makes his career by training athletes a certain way, a special way, from being able to train Michael. And Tim talks about his relationship with Michael and how they're still close, and that Michael credits a lot of his success to Tim and his training techniques and what he focused on. Another really cool thing about this book is Tim talks about his specific training techniques and what he focuses on and how he was able to find success with these. And it's truly fascinating to see the kind of work ethic that Tim has as a trainer. He wanted to be a professional basketball player, ended up not being able to do that based off genetics, basically. And he got into this personal training game, and he took that fuel of not being able to be a professional player and used it into his training. And this guy's ruthless. One of the hardest working people I've ever read about. And he's not even an athlete. And because most of those people I know or that I've read about are athletes. So super cool to see his perspective. And if you read this book, you will think he's a little crazy. There was times where I thought that's a little far, but it's truly amazing what he was able to accomplish. A really good quote that he says is, "Excellence is lonely. No one will ever understand what you've gone through to get where you are." This has been said a lot by a lot of different people, but it's so true. Success, I say a lot, is lonely. The path to success is lonely, whether that's working out when no one's around, whether that's staying up later when no one's there to talk to and you're just with your own thoughts. The path to success is lonely, and achieving excellence is as well. Everybody just sees what you've accomplished, but they never see what it took to actually get there. And that's with everything in life. When you're successful at anything, whether that be running a marathon, people see you finish the marathon, but they don't see the 20 weeks that you put in of training. When someone gets successful in the business world, they see that success, the amount of money they're making, but they don't see the countless hours that they took to build that business or the countless failures that happened along the way. Alex Hormozi is a great example of this. He failed 8 or 9 businesses before he finally became successful. If you look at old pictures of when Amazon was created, those are really cool to see. When Jeff Bezos was just in his college dorm room, just had a big poster on the back of the wall. It said Amazon.com. It's just him at his computer. Everybody sees Amazon for what it is today. They don't see what it was way back then. Another quote that he says is, "Winning requires you to be different, and different scares people." So if you're worried about what others will say, the long-term effects, the sacrifices you'll make, the sleep you'll lose, your family will be angry. I can't help you with that. There's nothing typical about the lifestyle and choices you'll have to make. Winning is inside all of us, but for most, that's where it will stay, trapped under a lifetime of fear and worry and doubt. I don't really know what else to say about that. I know we kind of talked about it with the last book. I understand that it's so hard to see the potential that you have. I get it because I'm there every single day. But you truly can win. You can win. The person next to you can win. Everybody that you know has the ability to go out and win at whatever they want to do in life. But we get so caught up in the opinion of others with the needs that come in life. We get so caught up in our own minds. If you want to win, you have to take on that fear and that worry and that doubt head on. Be the buffalo, run into the storm instead of running away from it. You have to be willing to make sacrifices if you want to win. You'll lose sleep. Your family won't understand. You'll miss holidays. You'll miss birthdays. That's the way that the game is played. If you want to win, you have to be able to accept that. The good thing, though, about win is when you do win, you'll be able to make up for that time that has been lost. You're still going to want to win at other things, but hopefully you'll be able to still make up for that time that has been lost. Be different. Be who you want to be, who you're supposed to be. The people that make fun of others when they are chasing their passions and their dreams, and those people that are making fun of them, they see that as different because they don't have those same passions and dreams. So it scares them, but it shouldn't scare you because winning requires you to be different. And you can't keep doing what others do every single day and expecting to win because so few people actually do. And that was the month of May. Great month. Very, very productive. And we started to get on a better path. For June, we continued physical therapy and we had a running evaluation. Physical therapy went the same. Running evaluation was not what I thought it would be. Basically, they put me on a treadmill. The guys were super nice, but basically they put me on a treadmill, looked at my form, they taped it, showed me where I could tweak my form a little bit that could help with my back pain. But what they don't understand and what I told them multiple times is my back does not hurt when I run. So it doesn't make any sense. Yeah. I mean, I went along with it and I went into it with a positive mindset because like I said earlier, I had prayed to God and I really thought about it and I thought this was the best idea. So I said, I'm going to go all in. I'm going to go into it with a positive mindset and I'm going to see what I can get out of it. And it just didn't work out for me. So at the end of June, I declined to go back to physical therapy. Not because not only was it just time for me to stop because I didn't like the type of service I was getting, they also told me that I didn't need to come back, even though my back and hip weren't even close to being healed. But yeah, so we went 3 times in June. I said my goodbyes, and I am now confirming that I will never go back for that because it's just unbelievable how that went. So what I did do, though, is I built my own 12-week back rehab running and Mike Menser lifting program. How did I build this? I built this using ChatGPT. I built it using the knowledge about rehab that I had accumulated from YouTube and TikTok. And why did I include running back into the equation? Well, this is a trial and error plan, basically. So the reason I included running is because while I was in physical therapy at the University of Iowa still, the guy that provided me with the running evaluation, he gave me a running plan to follow. Because I told him that my goal was to still consider running in the IMT Des Moines Marathon that is in October. So he gave me a running plan to follow. It started with 1 mile for 3 days a week, and then it grew in half-mile increments until I got up to 3 miles. That was at the beginning of June, and if I got to the end of June feeling good with my running, he said I could go into a running prep for a marathon. So ultimately, I decided not to sign up for the IMT because I felt like my back wasn't at a good place and I just didn't feel like I was able to put in a good prep. I didn't want to go out there and just log a bunch of miles and run a marathon for the fuck of it. I want to go out there and put in a really solid training plan, a training prep with speed workouts, with critical velocity, with tempo runs, with easy runs, with different types of running to actually get faster and to build aerobic base building and to become a better runner. I don't want to just go into it to do it. So that's why I decided not to. But during this rehab plan that I built myself, I kept running in there because I want to see if it's possible in the next 12 weeks to rehab my back as well as my hips and still have running be in the equation. Because if I can do that, I get to still run throughout the rest of the summer and build my aerobic base and do something that I love while rehabbing this back at the same time. So that's what it's going to be like in the first 12 weeks. Now, I have started a new series on the podcast titled The Journey Back to Running. Part 1 just released last week, actually, and that's titled Embrace the Uncertainty. So if you'd like to go check out that episode where I go more into depth on this 12-week program, what the next steps are, and what I will be doing at the end of this 12 weeks, depending on how I feel. Go ahead and check out that episode if you'd like. So that's what we did for fitness in the month of June, and that's kind of where I'm at now. It's second week of July here, so I'm currently going through that 12-week. We're on week 3. I'm going through that 12-week back rehab, running, and lifting program. Now, June for me was a little bit mentally challenging month. I don't know why, because I loved summer. I loved the summer months, being able to be outside, sun's out more, it's warm out. I think it was because it was supposed to be marathon month for me. Grandma's marathon was June 20th, I believe, and that was a marathon that I was initially supposed to run. So that was hard for me to watch a lot of others succeed at finishing that race and to see the content posted about that race, knowing that I was supposed to be there, but ultimately I was not. And then I kind of had a lot of feelings of not knowing where to go next. I know that all comes down to faith and having faith in a greater plan, a higher purpose. It can be hard sometimes, as I'm sure a lot of you know, but that's how it was just kind of mentally challenging for me. But in return, this helped me grow in my faith a lot in the month of June. I was able to really rely on God for many different things, many different situations, many different scenarios, because that's all you can do. All you can do is have faith that He has got your back. There's a reason why you're going through all this. You just have to be willing to find that reason. Another great thing that happened in the month of June is I recorded and released my first podcast episode with a guest who was my best friend, Tyler Montalvo. He was on. If you'd like to go check out that episode, it's one of the best episodes that I came out with so far. We talked about faith, family, and fitness. Tyler has completely changed his life in terms of all 3 of those aspects, and he provided a lot of good insights and perspective to life. So I definitely encourage you to go listen to that episode if you have not yet. And the way I'm ending June is my back started to feel better. Yes. Now, when did it start feeling better? It started feeling better when I started implementing my own rehab plan. I put a lot of time and effort into building this rehab plan, and it's a completely different focused plan than what I was given at physical therapy. My rehab plan focuses on the mobility of the hips and the spine. As I've said in the past, my left hip was trashed when my back really got thrown out of place. But since starting my own rehab plan just in the first couple weeks, my hip and my back feel so much better. I'm also stretching a lot more and just constantly doing mobility. And it makes me feel so much better. Like today, it's July 16th right now. But today I sat at work all day and my back did not hurt at all. Neither did my hip. And that's really encouraging for me. That means that what I'm doing is working and I'm still running. I'm up to 3 miles right now, 3 times a week. So that's really, really encouraging for me. And it means that I'm doing something right. And it means that you don't have to seek expert advice. You just have to be willing to put in time to figure it out yourself. If you truly want to figure it out, you will figure it out. Now, I'm not saying that I've completely fixed it, but it's good. It's a good sign and it's good news for me, and small wins build momentum. So having this small win of being pain-free, a little bit of pain-free, I'm not saying it's completely gone every day, but being a little bit pain-free is encouraging me to keep going, to keep figuring out, to keep tweaking the rehab a little bit to see what really, really helps it and to really lock in on that. As for the book for June, I was supposed to read Never Finished by David Goggins. I'm still currently reading it. I kind of slacked on my reading in June, unfortunately, and that is why I'm still reading Never Finished here in July. So far, it's pretty good. I'll give a full review on that in the quarter 3 recap for the month of July. So real quick, I just wanted to review my quarter 2 goals that I'd set in the Q1 recap. So quarter 2 goals were to get my back healed. Obviously, that's a no. Continue to build endurance through biking and swimming. Definitely did that with biking. Didn't really do any swimming. Do I have a good pool to go to? Consistently good instead of occasionally great. I felt like I was consistent for a while and then would slack off a little bit. And that's only in terms of a few things. I was definitely consistent with eating and with fitness, or with exercise and just fitness in general. When it comes to some other things, I wasn't as consistent with it. Balance my work and personal life. I think I did better at that. Turn to faith in times of struggle, mentally and physically. Definitely did that. Faith was a big part of quarter 2 for me and helped me get through a lot of challenging times. Get back to running, hopefully run a marathon in 2025. We've figured that out and we won't be doing that. And also have my first guest on the podcast, which I did accomplish that. And that's really, really good. And I'm really, really excited to bring more guests onto the podcast. I will have, I have a couple or 2 or 3 people that will be on here shortly in the next couple months. 2 of them I personally know. 1 I do not know yet, who will be a special guest. And I'm super excited to have him on. Really big into the fitness space and chasing big goals and going after purpose and just creating a mindset that is unbreakable. That's what I'll say. Now, for quarter 3 goals, I have 3 main goals. Go all in for fitness, content, and personal growth. Go all in. Really, really see what I can get out of this. What can I get out of my fitness? What can I get out of the content I'm posting? How far can I actually go? I also want to be more present, learn to be in the moment and focus on the moment. Then I also want to work on developing the mindset of a fucking winner because I want to win. And that's the truth. And in order to win, you got to have a mindset that is undoubtedly unbreakable. And it's so hard to iron out and to cultivate. Some people might make fun of the way I said that, but I want to fucking win, dude. I've always wanted to win, whether that be in sports or in my personal life. And all the stuff that I'm doing now, I want to win at it. So I'm going to develop a mindset that'll take me there. If there's one thing that you should take away from today's podcast, it's that you're in control of your entire life. There's no one else that has any say in what you do. There's no one else that gets to determine who you are and how you live your life. It does not matter. You know exactly who you want to be, who you want to become, what you want to do, and what you want to accomplish. The only thing you can do is go out there and prove everyone wrong. Eliminate that doubt. Eliminate the fear. Like I said earlier, everybody has winning inside of them. You have to be willing to go out and find it. It's been a great episode. I've liked doing these. Let me know in the comments if you like the quarter recaps. Just giving you a check-in with my life and trying to be as vulnerable as possible and upfront and honest with everybody listening. That just because I post content, just because I have a podcast, does not mean that I'm winning at every aspect of life. I probably struggle more mentally than a lot of people out there. But let me know down in the comments if these are episodes that you like. If there's something that you think I can improve in these episodes, let me know that as well. I'm always looking for ideas or ways to switch up the content to better fit what everybody wants to listen to. So definitely appreciate that. Leave a like, hit subscribe if you could. That would mean the world to me. And I just want to thank everyone for tuning into this podcast episode today. Keep collecting tickets every single day and keep striving to be better than you were the day before. And I'll see everyone in the next episode.